You know what?
But I think
in most of your organizations
ready.
people
So
say,
we'll start the
fix the
session
problem.
because otherwise we are running out of time.
story's over. Story's not over.
Last week we were
If you
discussing
fix the
about
problem and
service.
you're
So
where
we
you were
started the
before the
service
problem
quality
ever
session,
happened.
and
But
we
if you do
talked
something
about
more,
the 5
something
dimensions
extra,
of
something a little bit
service quality.
unexpected, you could
The question that has been
higher
asked
than if the problem
several
never
times in
even
the beginning of paper, and which I believe
I
there
call
will be
this
questions.
bouncing. Standing
We
service recovery, I
identified
want you to
5
write it down.
dimensions:
Bouncing,
the reliability, assurance,
back,
tangibles, empathy, and responsiveness. We also discussed that these dimensions were
now my story is about a bank.
introduced by
I'll work in
Parshuraman
banks. Someone do.
1988.
So let me give you one more story, but
And
it'll
we
make it a
generally
personal
refer
story
this
about
as the
you.
serve
And then you tell me whether or
model,
not you think
right?
this principle is
Serve
really
called
true.
the
I want you
5
to leave this conference,
reliability,
and I want you to go out,
responsiveness, tangibles,
and I want you to find
assurance, and
a boutique
empathy. Right?
that
So
sells
based on these 5
leather shoes.
dimensions, we
And I want you to find yourself
discussed
a brand new pair of Italian leather shoes,
measure
and I want you to pay
quality of the
$700.
service. Right? So we actually had
When you get home with your
discussion
brand new
about
shoes,
5
what are you going to
dimensions.
do with the shoe?
So now it's time for us to go for a little bit of a in-depth discussion.
Hey, for 700
on this
ringgit, you're going to
area,
keep the buckets.
This is where we stop.
What are you going to do with the
Ranga?
bag that has the brand on the side of the bag?
Ranga,
Keep it.
did
Ladies
you
are
went
going,
anything further,
what
or
do
we
you do?
stop here?
I don't know, but never mind. Keep it. What are you going to do with that little piece of paper that's your cash receipt?
Rajakarna.
Oh, you don't have a big pocket at home. What are you going to do with it? Throw it out.
Rajakarna, you are there?
Oh, we want you to go walking on the street
Ranga,
wearing
I
your
saw you
brand new shoes,
unmuting
and you're going to
your
step on one of those
So
metal
yes, I'm
grates on
here,
the side.
but there's an interrupting some the noise.
There's a disturbance, sir.
The heel has popped off and is going.
Sir, the machine ke bahin term off
Some other noises.
I just stopped it. Okay. නෑ මෙතන මේ adapter එකක් ගහලා මොකද්ද මේ ඒක මම right okay now it's clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Right. Okay, fine. So Rangana, is this the point that we stopped last time, Ranga?
Sorry, sir. I was not available for the last class.
Okay. Rajakaruna, were you there? Dilusha, Dilusha, අපි නැවතුනේ මේ slide එක නේද Dilusha last week?
සර් මං එක්කොලා මාට විතර සර් මට පොඩ්ඩක් යන්න වුණා
ආ,
සර් ඉන්න බැරි වුණා.
අනුරාධ හිටියද last class එකේ?
නැහැ සර්.
ආයෙ නෑ මම දැක්කා මිස් වෙලා. විජේන්ද්‍ර,
This was not the last slide, State here, actually.
this was the last slide. No?
මේකනේ මීට කලින් මම හිතන්නේ.
Technical fault at you have. Vijendra, were you there in the last class?
No, sir, no.
නැත්නම් කලින් හිටියද?
කලින් හිටිය දවස් දෙකක් හිටියා ඊට පස්සේ මේ වැඩ මේ වැඩට යන්න උනා.
ඒක නෑ මට මතක නෑ having a chat with you. Anyway, fine. So this is where we stop. ඉතින් අපි දැන් යමු එකින් එක ගැන කතා කරන්න so that we can have an idea what it is. Fine. So the first dimension is we are going to discuss one by one. Let's start with assurance. Right? So assurance is basically defined as the knowledge and the courtesy and the ability of the firm and the employee to inspire trust and confidence. Right? So we said that the service you cannot separate from the person who provides it, right? And therefore we need to have people when they communicate with your customer who will communicate in or interact with courtesy, right? And making the other person feel that he is recognized and he is acknowledged, and making the other person feel that he is important, right? And then with the right amount of knowledge. So remember, there is no point you having nice, good people who will talk to people in a very courteous manner and in a very friendly manner if they don't have knowledge. Yeah. So we have seen these type of people. Now they are very good in their language, right? And they are very good in their manners and the way that they approach people. But sometimes they don't have the knowledge. So what happens is, initially you will build up a rapport with them because of your approach, but eventually the customer will find that you are not good enough to give him solutions for his problems, right? Now that is very important. Therefore, you need to have the employees knowledgeable and courteous, both, right? So knowledgeable so that they will be able to provide solutions to the problems. So when the solution is provided accurately, the satisfaction happens, right? And due to the courtesy, they feel that they have been recognized and they have been valued, right? On the other side, this particular dimension helps the organization to minimize risks, right? Because the organization will provide the right solutions so that the customers will not get disappointed. Number two, organization will not run into unnecessary legal, ethical issues due to lack of knowledge of the employees and also lack of assurance, lack of courtesy, right? So apparently this helps you to reduce your reputational risk and as well as your operational risk, right? Even if you look at other risks, the same, right? So it helps you to reduce the risk. Apart from that, then you have the assurance that you are giving the right service, or you are dealing with right people with knowledge and courtesy. The customers will get confidence on the organization, right? So now for a bank, this is critically important, because when you deal with the customer that you are providing a financial service, if the person feel confident about the offers that you give or the service you provide, they will continue to bank with you. Because remember, the banking business is actually dealing with money. Money is a very sensitive thing for any customer, right? And also very something that they worry too much, right? So when you instill more confidence on the customer, then they will work with you and they will have a very positive attitude towards you, right? Apart from that, this actually helps you to this particular dimension. When you develop it, it will actually portray the very good explanation about the service, and the people will eventually tell that when I go to this particular bank, I get the best solution, and it is being given with friendly and courteous, in a courteous manner, right? So the key to achieve this dimension is to have competent staff, motivated, very enthusiastic, being placed in your counters, right? So now you will understand how it comes. When a customer comes, you will be able to say, sir, I will provide you the right answer, and when he asks the question, he should see a difference in your approach in solving the problem, right, compared to the competitors. In such cases, they will say that this bank is superb. Now that superb word has two dimensions. One is that they have given the right solution so that my problem is solved effectively. Number two, that they have given the solution in a friendly and a courteous manner, so that they will come up with the word, the service is super, right? Now, if you really look at the research, right? So one research, as you see, indicates assurance. When the assurance dimension of banking industry is increased through polite and friendly staff, provision of financial advice, interior comfort, easy to access account, and knowledgeable and experienced management team, cause to increase satisfaction of customers. So this is the research done by Sedek, Snail and Tayaha. So they have found that having friendly staff, right, and nice interior, right? And also the convenience provided has improved the satisfaction. Then again, another research, actually this has been proven by a research done in 2005, 14, 2006, again 2005. So all these researchers say trustworthy behavior of employees and secure transaction of both public and private banks positively influence to repurchase intention of customers. Right? So this again talks about the value of this dimension. Right? Then again, if you go to a research done in 2012, 2016, it says employees' behavior instill confidence in customers and employees. Knowledge to answer customer problem provide higher satisfaction of private banks than public banks, right? So they have done a research on public and private banks, and they have found that sometimes the knowledge that the private bank has, the private banks have employed some knowledgeable people so that they have a little bit of an edge. Okay? So there are a lot of research done on service quality in Sri Lanka as well, comparing public and private banks, right, and rural banks, and then as well as different dimensions. So you can read it in the web. But remember, assurance matters a lot. So how you can improve this area? What are the things that you can do to improve this area? Is that one is that you can train your people. Right? So you have to continuously train your people, giving them adequate knowledge. Second, you have to hire people with competence, right? So when you are hiring a branch manager, the branch manager should have overall banking knowledge, and as well as the skill, the interpersonal skills, communication skills, and so on and so forth, and also the experience, so that he can solve problems of your customers and provide an accurate and a better solution, right? So hiring competent people. Second, training your employees. Third, retaining the competent people. Now that is, when your organization already have competent people, you should be able to retain them, providing them adequate compensation, right, and recognizing them. So that is there. And then number 4 is that fitting the right person to the right job, because there are different types of people who are having different levels of expertise, and you need to fit them into the right position. For example, if you have an expert in the international trade, you putting him to do perhaps the payment card business may not give you the real outcome, right? So therefore, sometimes it's very good that you balance both general multitasking people and experts. Right? So you cannot go only with multitasking people in a bank, right? So you can have multitasking people who are good in every area, and they are general. They have a general knowledge. They don't have in-depth knowledge, so that they can work in any area and support customers. But at the same time, you must have some experts who have in-depth knowledge on the business area that they are working in, so that when there is a complicated matter or when there is a possible risk, those people can chip in and support, right? So you have to balance both expertise and the multitasking people in an organization, right? Then make a generally customers lagging apide then call center then outsourcing is a critical thing that you need to think about. There is a trend that people used to move, the organization used to move towards outsourcing or hiring industrial placements trainees for shorter period and putting them to bridge the gap, right? So they are sometimes put to answer calls, right, or to face the front line, support customers, but apparently they are not well trained. They're not well trained, and they have low attachment towards the organization. So they may be, you may train them to become courteous, but then again, they may not provide the right solution. So you have to be very careful as to what level of tasks that you allocate to them and what level of tasks that your staff will handle, right? So and what type of customers they handle. There are customers who come for their routine needs, but there are customers who come like the business clients and as your premium clients who wants a better service and have more complicated issues. Right? So you have to think all these areas. Just because you will gain some profit out of outsourcing or putting industrial placements, if you go towards such options without thinking, without compromising the assurance part of your service, then you will have problems, right? Then you will have problems. So this is something that I also have done once. When I wanted to improve the service quality, I told my staff that you need to be knowledgeable and go and read and learn about the business. So I used to run quizzes with them. I used to have chats with them. And I wanted to make sure that they are knowledgeable so that when a customer calls, they will be able to give the right solution. And when you give the right solution, obviously the satisfaction will come and they will talk about service quality. Right? I have one incident I must tell you, that there was a time that now actually apparently there is a restriction on foreign currency transactions when you purchase assets abroad. And I remember one time there was a client who called and said that it was a very huge amount. I want this much of limit on my credit card to purchase jewelry. Right, so it was a huge amount. So what I did is I got the approval and I told him, see, I got your approval. It was about 10 million. So I said, I have already marked the limit on your card because he's such an important client to us. But I told him, see, I have marked the limit and you can do the transaction. But remember that there is a regulation that prevents it. And I explained him the exchange control regulations. So after listening to me, he said, okay, I'll think about it. He kept the phone, right? And he didn't do the transaction. He didn't do the transaction. Then after he came to Sri Lanka, he called me. And he called me and said, see, I'm very grateful to you because you educated me on this particular thing. And I rechecked with other banks. They said the same. But the fact is, where I asked few banks to increase my limits, apart from your bank, all of them increased my limit, but they didn't tell me, they didn't educate me on the exchange control regulations. Whereas if I would have done the transaction, I would have fallen into trouble, right? But after you are the only one who told me about that, and then I think why they didn't tell me earlier, right? And he also said that this gives me confidence that you are giving me the right solution, and he actually appreciated a lot, right? So this is how you look at it. So if you are knowledgeable, you'll be able to save your customers, and they really value it. And this has happened, similar incidents I can talk to you a lot. Whereas when you use your knowledge and support customers to overcome their problems, how loyal they will become to you, and how satisfied they are, right? Then the second part is empathy. Right? So empathy is defined as the caring, individualized attention that the firm provides to its customers, right? That the firm provides to its customers. Now this is basically when they come to you, how caring you are, right? Basically, when you care for your customer, you don't try to just finish a deal, right? You try to understand him, you give him time to talk, right? And then you try to provide him the best solution, right? Because you care for him, right? The essence of empathy is conveying through personalized or customized service that the customer requires. Because see, every customer that comes to us is unique and they are special, they have different needs, right? So you should be able to understand their requirements and support them. And when you do that, they feel that they have got a better service compared to the competitors, right? So there should be readiness in the firm, and the firm should have the ability to cater each customer with a lot of care and have the flexibility to provide solutions that they will value and feel that they have been given a special attention, right? Now this can go into in a practical sense, things like convenience in opening hours, right? So you basically tell them, okay, we have extended working hours to support you. For example, if you are in an area where the businesses are run late night, right? And when the businesses go late night, they have a lot of money collected after 3 p.m. after the banks are closed. So they are at a risk. So they have to either keep it with them at a risk, right? Or bank somewhere. So if the banks are closed at 3 o'clock, now they have to risk themselves to keep the money with them. So sometimes if you are in such a place, you might be able to have a cash deposit machine, or support your key clients to come and deposit money by providing an extended service. So you can think of things like that where you actually try to support them. It's not that you want to open the bank, but you are opening to support because there's a need. And then sometimes when you publish interest rates, you can just publish it, or you can educate your customers. For example, you can say, okay, sir, either you can put it in smaller letters on the statement, the interest rate is this, calculated on daily basis, or you can basically publish it in such a way where it says, okay, this is the rate, this is how it is calculated, and here is an example, so that any customer who goes through it will understand how the interest is calculated, right? So providing examples. Now this has been made mandatory by the central bank when it comes to interest rate calculations, to tell the customers how it is calculated and show an example also, so that they can understand. But whether it is mandatory or not, you can do this if you want to really care for your customers, right? See, as a bank, you need to earn money, you need to earn income, but you don't have to earn income by basically deceiving customers. You can educate them, you can make it very clear to them, and earn your income, right? So even if you educate them or not, eventually they will pay that money, right? So if you educate it and take it, they will not feel bad. But if you don't tell them, or if you try to hide your charges and take, eventually it will create a dissatisfaction. So that is where most of the customers sometimes come and complain that there were hidden charges, right? We have been deceived, right? And then that is associated with your service quality, and they say the service is horrible, right? So this is how the empathy should be applied in practice. So if you really look at the research, empathy means taking care of the customers by giving individual attention to them. And also empathy includes convenient and flexible working hours and locations, right? So that is the empathy. Under empathy, they were talking more about convenience, because when it comes to banking, how easily they will be able to access services matters a lot for the customers, right? The customers may remain unsatisfied with the service quality if gap is left in empathy. This is again a research finding in 2004. So although you have done all the other things, if they feel that they are not being cared appropriately, or they have been given the required caring, they will not be satisfied with your service. Customers are highly satisfied with flexible service hours and personal attention to them regarding banking activities. Again, a finding in 2011, which emphasized the importance of flexible service hours in the point of view of empathy, that is to support customers. Especially private banks, customers prefer to transact their bank due to this individualized attention to them. Now, this is again, if you really look at the banking industry, we know certain banks, I don't want to categorize them, but then all of you know that certain banks, they have less caring or less courtesy towards customers, right? So they consider the customer, they have enough customers, so they feel this is another customer, right? So they don't care. But some banks, when you go, they really welcome you, right? And then they listen to you, right? And they try to understand you and give you the support. Now, this happened to me also when I was doing a little bit of a research. So I went to a particular bank. It's a state-owned bank. And I went and told them that I want to have a pawning facility. Right? And I showed them an article and said that I want to pawn this. And the person looked at me and said, okay, who you are? I said, I'm a lecturer. I didn't divulge who I am. I'm a lecturer. I earned this much of money, right? And he was actually not very friendly at all. So then he looked at and said, okay, fine. I'll give you 60% of the value. I said, okay, see, if you give 60% of the value, I can't basically meet my requirement. So I want little higher. I said, because you are having my article and you can give me little higher, right? I can't remember exactly the amount at that time. So I was, whatever he promised me, I asked him more, right? Which is possible, But apparently this guy was saying, no, I told you this and I can't do anything more, right? He was very arrogant. So then what happened is, and he actually asked me also why I want more. So then I went to a private bank, and in the private bank, actually they welcomed me, and I again told them the same thing. They valued it, and then they said, okay, I'll give you 70%. So I said, no, I need at least 80 to 90% of the value. Then they asked me the golden question, why? So I gave them a reason saying that I have a particular requirement for money to meet this particular expense, and then that is why I need this. And I explained it, and he was very, very kindly listening to me. And then he said, let me take an approval. And then he took an approval and he came and said, okay, I'll give you. Right? Then that is the difference, right? That is the difference. So empathy versus just adhering to rules, right? Just adhering to rules. So the previous one would have looked at me as a person who is getting a variable income, and he doesn't know me, I'm a stranger. So then even without asking me why I need more money, he actually denied it. The second person actually asked who I am and then why I need money, right? And then went to the extent of getting an approval and looking at how he can support me. So if I would have been doing it as a customer, obviously I did that as a measure of understanding how the service works and as a research part of my research. But then if I would have been a real customer, I would have become more loyal to the second bank instead of the first bank. So there can be a lot of customers who's coming to you asking for loan facilities, asking for some support. But in that case, it is very important that you listen to them very carefully. Okay? But always remember, empathy is not sympathy. Now, sympathy is that when a person comes crying to you, you also cry with the fellow, right? And then you sometimes compromise the risk level, and then basically you put your bank at a risk and you try to support. That is not empathy. Empathy is not crying with the customer. Empathy is trying to solve the problem of the customer or helping to solve the problem of the customer. It's not crying with the customer, right? So that is very important for you to understand. Now, you may have come across certain situations where the customers are so loyal to certain banks. So they say that so sometimes they say mage banku and all. And if you really look at why they are so attached to your bank, you find that at a particular point of time, somebody would have listened to them, somebody would have tried to understand them, and somebody would have done some exception where they have found that the bank has really cared for them. So therefore, they have become so loyal and they talk high about the service. Customers in banking sector are highly satisfied to take attention from employees because they can solve their all transaction and other financial problem arising regarding banking sector discussed with bank employees. Right? So this is where the researchers found the importance of you providing time and access to customers to discuss their matters with the bank employees, and they really value it, right? And they really value it that you have have a chat with them to understand their problems. Positive employee activities of the banking sector highly associated to increase customer satisfaction, while negative associations causes to dissatisfaction of the customer. Again, another research finding, right? So having positive employees who care for the customers is very important for you to improve quality. Now, how can you do this in your branch? You need to have more training on service, customer service with your employees, right? And you need to have training on listening skills and other soft skills that they need to master. Because we have seen in certain banks, they are so much worried about giving them knowledge. Right? So the trainings are more focused on providing knowledge about accounts opening, about credit, so on and so forth. But sometimes they lack or they ignore the importance of providing training on soft skills as to how they should listen to the customer, the listening skills, how they should interact with the customers, the interpersonal skills, right? And how they should basically serve the customers with courtesy, customer service trainings. So these are very important apart from the education related to the technical parts of the products. Right? Then the next dimension refers to reliability. Right? So this is actually accurate and dependable service. Right? So whether you can deliver the promise that you make to the customers, right? So reliability is basically determined or basically measured by the accuracy given by of the transactions that you do and advices that you give, right? For example, it can even go on to accuracy of bank statements, and then on-time performance of services. Now, if you say the check will be realized 3 o'clock, it should get realized 3 o'clock, right? And if you say that you will give them a credit card within 5 working days, it should be given within 5 working days, right? And so accuracy of bank statements, on-time performance of service delivery, service provision, problem solution, and pricing, and how they have affected the customer satisfaction. These all comes under reliability. Now, even when they give you a call to your call center, whether they give the accurate balance, whether they give the accurate information, because one of the key complaints against call centers is that they don't give the accurate information, or they don't give an accurate answer. Maybe because they are not well trained, or they are not bank employees, but sometimes they are part-time, contract, or outsource employees. So reliability matters, and especially when it comes to a bank, reliability matters a lot, right? Because you cannot in a bank, you cannot do mistakes. That is a fundamental thing. Now, even in courts, generally the assumption is bank is correct, because you always believe the bankers are 100% accurate. They can't make mistakes. So that is very, very important principle that you have to remember when you become a banker, right? you can't make mistakes, right? So you might say it might happen. No, you can't make mistakes. Bankers should be correct. That is very important. So correct to the cent. Correct to the cent. And generally the presumption is banker is correct. If you go otherwise, then it is a damage on your reputation and the reliability dimension of your service quality. So if you really look at the research finding, it says reliability is considered as most important factor in convincing customers to retain in banking services. Obviously, right? So if the customers find that their balance is not accurate, they have been charged with inaccurate amounts, right? Or the particular checks that they have deposited, the money has gone to another account, then they get mad, right? And they say, we can't work with this bank because what happens is when the reliability dimension is compromised and when the customers lose confidence on you, it is a trouble for them because they have to look at every statement. They have to worry too much about what is happening to their money. That creates a lot of stress in them. So they will prefer to go to a place where they don't have the stress, where they can trust, right? So if the reliability is compromised and the people find that you are not trustworthy, then it creates a lot of stress, which makes them feel that we should leave this bank and go to a place where we can have peace of mind. Right? So although you think this is a very simple thing, this is very, very dangerous because I have seen even in the recent past, certain banks getting into system issues or their computer systems were not working and the customers were debited with wrong transactions, wrong interest. And as a result of that, the customers were really, really unhappy. Right? And some changed the bank as well. Right? And even I know that there is a particular telephone company where the customers are very worried about their bill because they are generally more than 50% of the time their bill is wrong. Right? So because of that, the customers are really thinking that they are not ethical and they are not a good company for them to deal with. Right? So your systems and accuracy of whatever that is happening with the customer is critical for your credibility. Then again, in 2001, they consider reliability as reputation that can be the most reliable indicator of service quality, which could be related to customers' past experience, right? So reliability is more associated with the reputation, right? And basically this particular past experience of the customers are basically accumulated when it comes to the reputation of your brand. If banks provide more reliable and supportive service that fulfill the demand and expectation of customers, customer will be more confident to bank. Again, a research finding in 2011. So they find if the reliability is high, the customers will bank with you confidently. Then again, 1990, Setnik and Bickner, service providers apologize start to wear thin when company is careless in performing the service, when it makes frequent mistakes, and when it is casual about keeping its service promises. Hence, it is quintessential to provide excellent service at the first time, exhibit sincere effort in resolving problems, and provide error-free record and constantly fulfill promises to prevent customers from defecting to other banks. Right? Now, this is a critical statement that most of the time the banks think that when they do a mistake and apologize, it will sort out the matter. It is not. When you continuously do mistakes and even you apologize and send them cakes and whatever, your reputation will be lost, and as a result of that, the customers will move away from you. So therefore, when it comes to a bank, it is very important that you provide the service right at the first time, rather than leaving any provision for you to apologize. Right? So every apology will reduce your reliability, the reliability dimension of service quality, and as a result of that, your service may be looked at as inferior compared to others. Then the next factor, next dimension is responsiveness. Responsiveness is firm's willingness to assist its customers by providing fast and efficient service performance. Right? Now, whether you will promptly deal with the customer. Now, this is what is happening in this part, right? So this dimension emphasizes attentiveness and promptness in dealing with customer requests, questions, complaints, and problems. And in this research, need to measure how far these dimensions are affected customer satisfaction, right? So basically, the responsive dimension is talking more about how willing you are to serve. Right? So when you go to a bank, whether there are people who are really welcoming you, right? Saying that, how can I help you? And do you get that attention? When you try to call a call center, is your call answered within 3 rings or in a reasonable time? Or do you have to go through a lot of kind of automated services where they try to delay you getting into the getting into agents? Or do you have to wait in a queue for a long time? These are all comes under responsiveness. And when you try to approach to get a particular service, how long it will take, right? Now again, it comes to responsiveness, right? So then when you complain about a service, how fast you will get a reply. When you send an email to asking or requesting information, how fast you will be responded. These are all coming under responsiveness. And when you call, within how many rings they will answer the call. Again comes under responsiveness, right? So how willing the organization and how well organization will respond to the customer. Now that is where the responsiveness comes, right? So if you really look at the research findings, it tells responsiveness is firm's willingness to assist its customers by providing fast and efficient service performance. It is reached that willingness or readiness of employees to provide the required customer service without any inconvenience at any time will strongly influence the level of customer satisfaction. And this is again findings of Parasuraman that which emphasizes that the customer service without inconvenience will strongly influence customer satisfaction. Responsiveness factor such as promptness in service delivery, willingness of employees to help customers, bank performance, timely delivery of bank statements have power to absorb dialectical customers towards both public and private banking sector. Right? That is again research finding by Karim and Chowdhury. Right? So how will you improve responsiveness in your bank or in your branch? Well, that is something for you to jot down or think of. Then you come to tangibles. Tangibles. So what is tangibles? Tangibles are defined as the appearance of physical facilities, equipment, personnel, and communication material. Now you can think about your interior, your lighting, sofas, and the chairs, desks, things like that, and as well as the cleanliness and the appearance of your premises. At the same time, you can think of some equipments such as check deposit machines, robotic services, the VTMs, virtual teller machines, teller machine, cash deposit machine, cash recycle machine. Now the technology part of it. So the equipments that you have also comes under tangibles, right? So tangibles provide physical representation or image of the service the customer, particularly new customer, will use to evaluate quality. Now this we discussed on the physical evidence also, right? So it is similar to that. Basically, when you go to a particular place, you look around, and based on what you see, you determine the quality. Now, if you go to a salon and you see very, very nice equipments, modern equipments, cleanliness, and very clean, nice equipments, you feel that you are going to get a quality service. And if you go to a bank and you see that the bank is very clean, nice, and then the ambience is really good, and there are a lot of machines around which looks very sophisticated, you feel that this bank is service of this bank is of high quality. Right? So this is a general psychology of customers. The customers will associate quality with what they see around, the physical evidence, right? How the physical surrounding represented by objects, interior design, and subjects, the appearance of employees, tidiness of the branch are affected on the customer satisfaction, right? Although tangibles are often used by banks to enhance their image, provide continuity, and signal quality to customers. Now then, let's look at the research findings where they have looked at the importance of tangibility to customer satisfaction. So it says, tangible represent physical aspects of the service and all tools and equipments used to provision of services. According to Ladari, in 2011, idea of tangibles role in banking sector is key tool to achieve customer satisfaction. Now, these are all research findings, right? All the customers in both public and private sector visually attract to all technological things provisioned by banking sector because tangible and intangible service are equally important to the success of the organization. Now, this is again a finding that I have seen in Sri Lankan sector also, where the customers are actually attracted by the technological things, such as the machines and equipments that you have placed in the branch, right? So they feel the bank is so sophisticated in delivering their services by associating that with the machines that they see when they come into the bank. Customer in the private sector banks invest more trust with physical facilities and more attractive decors around the bank, right? So again, another finding, the private sector, you need to have nice ambience and also attractive decor around the bank because the customers looks at it and associate it with quality. Organizations have recognized service quality and improved customer satisfaction as the key differentiation to compete more effectively in banking industry in Sri Lanka. This is a finding done in Sri Lanka, right? So they find that the service quality and improved customer satisfaction is what the banking industry is considering as most competitive thing when they are competing with their peers. Customer satisfaction can be defined as the extent to which a product perceived performance matches buyer's expectation. So this is something that we have already understood. What is what is satisfaction, right? Customer expectation are beliefs about services that serve as standards against which service performance is judged, which customer thinks service provider should offer rather than on what might be on offer, right? So the satisfaction here, it talks about how the customer believe what kind of service that they should get and what they have really got. So then again, it says there is a strong positive relationship between service quality and customer satisfaction. That is by Parasuraman and Bahia. And then the two concepts are fundamentally different, but they have certain things in common. So what they say is service quality. Now, on all these statements say the service quality has a positive impact or has a relationship with the satisfaction of a customer. Right? So if you really ask the question, why service quality? Because service quality is impacting on the satisfaction of a customer. Then let's look at again the findings. According to service quality theory, it is predicted that customers will judge that quality as low if performance does not meet their expectations, and quality as high when performance exceeds expectations. Closing this gap might require toning down the expectations or heightening the perception of what has actually been received by the customer. Now, this is something that we have discussed earlier. When you want to talk about the service quality and the quality, you need to meet the expectations. So you have two things that can be done: either lower down the expectations or improve the performance. Then again, under service quality, they say quality of service is dependent on two variables: expected service and perceived service. Quality sells superiority or excellence, or as the customer's overall impression of the relative inferiority, superiority of the organization and its services. Consumer intentions are also influenced by the standard of service quality. Then Seth Mill have said in 2009, perceived service quality is a component of customer satisfaction. So he has identified service quality is really affecting the satisfaction, and it determines customer satisfaction. Kotler in 2012 says, discourse that satisfaction is the past purchase evaluation of products or services considering the expectations of the customers. So all these things eventually goes to talk to you that the customer satisfaction is by and large related to the service quality, right? So if you really try to put this into a diagram, what you have just learned, the dimensions of service quality and the relative the relations between the service quality and satisfaction, you can simply put it into a diagram like this. So we say service quality, and this service quality is an independent variable. It changes by its own, and based on the service quality, customer satisfaction is determined. So this is a dependent variable. Why we say dependent? The customer satisfaction is dependent on service quality. So when the service quality goes up and down, satisfaction will change accordingly, right? And how the service quality is looked at is dependent on 5 factors: reliability, responsiveness, empathy, assurance, tangibles. So if you really look at this and ask the question, how to improve customer satisfaction? To improve customer satisfaction, you need to improve service quality. To improve service quality, you need to work on or improve these 5 dimensions. So if you improve reliability, it will improve service quality and lead to customer satisfaction. If you improve responsiveness, it will lead to improve service quality. It will lead to customer satisfaction. If you improve empathy level, it will lead to service quality and it will lead to customer satisfaction. So likewise, there is a link between the service quality and customer satisfaction. Therefore, to improve the quality, satisfaction will improve. Now, to improve quality, you have to work with these 5 dimensions, right? These 5 dimensions, right? Now, looking at this particular diagram, it's time for us to have a discussion. Now, there have been past paper questions also. How you will do this in your bank or the branch, right? So it's very important. So like now I would like to pose this question to you. and let's have a discussion. All of you take 5 minutes and jot down your answers. What my question to you is that if you want to improve customer satisfaction, now then if you ask me why customer satisfaction, that you know that the continuous satisfaction leads to loyalty, and then that is one of the key things to keep your customers or retain your customers. Okay? So customer satisfaction. So to improve customer satisfaction of your branch, right, of your branch or in your bank, right, what should you do? You need to improve service quality. Then the question is, what will you do as a branch manager to improve service quality of your branch? So if you can write it in the branch manager's perspective, or you can write it in a universal perspective. For example, I would say, what can you do, or what will you suggest, or how will you improve service quality of your bank, right? Now this is a question, right? So I would like you to jot down few notes. There was a question, past paper question, where they have said, as a branch manager of a bank, how will you approach to improve service quality of your branch, right? So take down the question, as a branch manager of a reputed bank, right, how will you approach to improve service quality of your branch, right? Now here this can be done by any branch manager, any head of department, right? So then you have to work with the 5 areas. So when you are working with 5 areas, what will you do? What will you do? Now this is a question. Okay. So I would like to give you 5 minutes to jot down some answers, and then we will discuss. Right? So it's 9:36. We will discuss at 9:40. So please write down the answers. Right? As a branch manager, how will you approach to improve service quality? Right? Practical path ලියන්නකෝ බලන්න 4 minutes තියෙනවා 9:36 9:40 වෙනකොට we will start discussing. Right, let's have a chat, right? So I'm sure all of you have jotted down something, so we'll try to have a chat. Right, start with Rangana. Rangana, what is your answer?
Hello.
Yes,
Can you hear me,
Rangana.
sir? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
For us, since the question is to improve customer satisfaction, I think, as you said, we have to focus on those 5 areas to improve service quality. As a branch manager, first thing which I would focus is the tangibles of the branch, like the physical appearance. Whenever a customer enters the branch, they should feel that the bank is equipped with all necessary technology and services to serve them, like the present context, cash recycling, CRMs, check deposit machines, and especially digital banking experience centers, like with devices.
Rangana, you're breaking up in the middle.
Hold on. Is it okay now?
Much better, much better.
All right. So whenever the customer enters the branch, they should feel that the bank is equipped with the necessary equipment and technology to serve them, like cash recycling machines, check deposit machines, and especially digital experience centers with devices. They can have on-hand experience on the digital products. So the tangibles plays a major part in improving service quality, because first and foremost we should have that tangibles in order to give them a better service and to have a better customer satisfaction, in my opinion. And Secondly, the most important thing which I feel is the empathy of the bank towards the customers. So with this COVID-19 and other adverse situations, most of the customers are facing difficulties, especially when it comes to loans and credit customers. So the staff of the branch should have the empathy to look into their problems in a much more personalized manner in order to help them to overcome the difficulties. This applies even for this empathy factor applies even for the customers who come for day-to-day transactions and operational area even. So in our bank right now we are having a digital assistant outsourced personnel who is solely 100% involved in assisting customers to get onboarded for these digital platforms. So since we are operating in a rural area, it is very much vital to have a dedicated person to look into these issues, because otherwise, even though the bank introduces many new features to our portfolios, customers don't feel attached to our products. Like, so with the support of this outsourced digital assistant as well as our trade staff, we can have a smooth onboarding process to digital banking where the customer feel, end of the day, customer satisfaction will go up. So that is the main two areas. And apart from that, the reliability and assurance, of course, that should be mainly improved through a proper training of staff and proper knowledge sharing with staff regarding recent, I mean, the latest developments in banking, and especially to give a accurate service to customers. The service levels of the staff should be improved constantly. In order to do that, in our case, what we do is we have weekly or monthly meetings and very small say stand-up meetings, morning meetings to refresh the staff on these areas, so that they'll have that attention throughout the period when they serve customers, which improve the service quality and in turn improve the customer satisfaction. That's also.
Right, Rangan. So good. So I will not comment now. I will listen to all of you and then I will come to a comment later. So we will move to Vijendra. Vijendra,
Yes, sir.
yes.
Yeah, I have make some points. So the first one is to make sure the availability of digital products and enhance the customer service over that, because to meet the issues which arise through the digital products. And because I feel the bank in current trend banks provide a lot of digital platforms, but I don't feel any the backend support is very less from them, because they need the customers has initially locked them, but once them they arise any issues, the support from the especially in the branch level is less. So I think as branch manager we have to enhance the backend support. So the other point is yes, enhance the appearance of the bank. I mean to the, we have to enhance the tangible level of the bank. And the other point is collect the customer feedbacks regularly and work out over them accordingly. The other point is if the branch is located in a commercialized area, so I think it should we have to extend the bank opening hours, because especially in collecting cash deposits and for the credit facilities. So these are my points to enhance the service level.
Okay, that's Vijendra. So we'll move to Dilution. Dilution?
Yes, sir. In terms of tangibility, the branches should have the latest ATM and cash deposit machines for customers. And other than that, there are machines where the customer himself can request information such as the interest rates, the products available, and digital machines. So if we can implement those machines in branches, there will be a higher customer satisfaction level. And in terms of reliability, the machine should be serviced at regular intervals to keep them functioning properly. So the manager can contact those uh, technical companies which are probably outsourced by the bank and do those uh, services in order to maintain them. And in terms of responsiveness, if the whole staff can give something which is beyond the customer expectations, I think that will be really good to improve the satisfaction of the customers. Yeah, that's my point, sir.
Right, good Dilution. So we will move to Chamind.
Yes, sir. According to the question, there are five main factors effective uh, customer service or service quality. Out of them, tangibility is one of the main factor. Using tangibility, we can improve the service quality, retention, and all other things, especially in urban areas. On the other hand, when we consider rural areas, we should now more concentrate on empathy, responsiveness, and accuracy. I think that is one of main point. Also, now the banks move into centralization process. In the centralization process, branch bank can do selling products and relationship matters. So we need interconnected process to improve service quality with the branch bank and the centralization unit in banks. That is my point, sir. Hello.
Okay, Chamind. So we have Vijendra. Vijendra, did we have a
Yes,
chat?
yes, I have presented.
Dilution? Dilution?
Yes, sir. I gave the answers.
So Dilusha, Chaminda, Rangana, Vijendra gave. So we have Anuradha. Anuradha.
Yes, sir. As a branch manager's perspective, I think that I should be confident enough on my staff because they are the people who are in the front end to make the customers satisfied, and as a improve the assurance of the customers. It is necessary to build up good relationship with the staff, the officers, and the customers, and I think that to make a channel to build up the assurance, the training or the soft skills, improving soft skills of the staff is important, and it can be done to identifying their professional or academic qualifications and allocate them to right place, and allow them to present their daily problems to the manager directly, or maintaining daily huddles or the meetings to identify their problems, because internal customer satisfaction is a main path to improve the external customer satisfaction too. And again, that improve the empathy of the customers and improve the satisfaction thereby. I think it's there should be a way to address customer requirements, identifying the the niches, especially because the branch can open the weekends too, if there's people who are who need the people who working on customers who working 5 days working, and sometimes they do not have time to come to the bank in Monday to Friday, and then they can allow to come to the bank even in Sunday too, or 365-day banking. And then reliability should be improved, because especially in financial services, it is between customer who obtain a loan from the bank, they should be they should be understood about the agreements, things and rates and all the things, and providing structured or the specified letters of offers on loan agreements and the rates and the repayment period, and all the things should be made them clearly. And then I think that this is also mentioned in customer charter introduced by CBSL to the banks to display all the rates and currencies and even the details of financial ombudsman, because that all should be updated and properly displayed in the branch. Then thereby customers can clearly identify that we are not hiding something, or they can even complain to the because we make a room, we make a room to make a complaint directly to the other to relevant financial authorities on the bank. And it's something easy to make them reliable to the bank or the customer service. And responsiveness should be there, because nowadays the complaints are sometimes the complaints are risen due to this lack of responsiveness from the branch officials. And I think I can, as a branch manager, I can reduce a turning around time to the loan department, or make them to have to end a loan request within 2 days, or the personnel in 2 days, the property use 1 or 2 weeks, and standards and amending a standard to answer in the phone even, and how to reply for an email or for the customer. I think that I can introduce the standards, so the measurements to the staff, to have staff to allocating time, specific time to answering the customers. And tangibles, comparing to the conventional bank or traditional banking, nowadays tangibles, so the present environment and the equipment, sophisticated equipment, plays a vital role in a banking arena, because all the banks are now armed with a sophisticated technology, CDM, ATM, CRM, so on. And I think if that in the pawning section too, or rather as I said, the density meter makes customers comfortable about their jewelries, and allowing a separate desk for internet banking, or the self-service within the bank, or providing branch on wheel services to the customers who are in the remote areas to have the basic transactions with the bank. These can be identified and can be followed to improve the service quality of the customers and customer satisfaction therein in the short term and long term run.
Very good answer, Anuradha. This is the answer that generally we expect from the students, to look at it in a comprehensive way and come with practical answers. Very well done. Good answer. Let me move to Visista. Visista, I think we missed you in the last class.
Yes.
Right. This is your answer.
We have to do the things first time right. Whatever customers needed, we have to do it in first time right without the errors. And technology wise, we should be the best bank, and we should onboard the customer. We have to try to onboard the customers on technology side. And when we promise to do something for the customer, we have to meet the deadline. And we have to give the knowledge and the regular training to the staff to do their work efficiently. And we have to have some people in some areas, specialized people, so then they can deliver a good service. And whenever customers come with any problems, we have to try to sort that problem and make them satisfied. If we give these services quality, then we can make the customer satisfied.
Okay, good. So I think I have covered every one of you, right? Right. So I think Anuradha's answer is a very good answer, which is like a model one. Basically, that's what we expect from you. If you have a question like that, basically, I told you in the paper, you're not only looking at your theoretical knowledge, but we also see how you can apply your theoretical knowledge into practice. Now, the theoretical knowledge is that service quality is related to satisfaction, and satisfaction of obviously related to royalty and retention. So, to improve service quality, what can you do? So, when you ask that question in the point of view of the branch manager or as a bank or as a person, you should approach in a very practical way, taking one dimension. So, first you have to say service quality is determined, is basically influenced by 5 factors. That is the reliability, responses, so and so. Then you have to take one by one. You have to say, okay, what is reliability? Reliability is this. How can we improve reliability? So in the branch, number one is to make sure that you create a first time right culture, right? And train people, as Rangana said, to have continuous training, to have kind of morning meetings where you brief about the new directives, circulars, and the guidelines, right? And have document processes, and have certain standards, right? And make sure that your people will read the operation manuals and are thorough with the procedures. These are all under reliability. Then you can talk about responsiveness, right? So you say, okay, you set standards, right? Within 3 rings, the calls should be answered. And if the person is leaving to have lunch, he should forward the phone to the next person. The email should be responded, should be acknowledged. Right? So when an email comes, you have to acknowledge, saying that, okay, we received it, we'll respond to you, right? And when, and as you say, there are some assistants. So when a customer walks in and go towards your cash deposit machine and wonders what to do, there should be someone who will come and say, sir, how can I help? Can I support you to use this machine? So the people should feel, okay, this bank is waiting for us to serve. And when we go to the bank, they are really trying to serve us. Then comes to the empathy. Now, as Anuradha said, bank on wheels, right? Now, that is again a part of empathy, whereas the customers, they find it difficult to go to the ATMs. So the banks can send a mobile ATM to their places during the quarantine curfew, so that they can withdraw money and make their meet their requirements. And sometimes they can't visit the bank to take their credit cards, debit cards. So you have you deliver it to them. So those are things which actually comes under empathy. It's not only listening and talking to the customer, but then again you can also say that you will train your staff to listen to the customers, understand the customers, and serve them. Right? And then when it comes to assurance, right? So you can talk about increasing the competence levels of your staff, understanding the competence and allocating the right person to the right job, right? So those are under assurance. Then tangibles. Under tangibles, you can talk about how you will improve the outlook of your branch, keep it clean and tidy, right? The standards that you will set to clean, and also to make sure that time to time you go and rearrange the brochures and leaflets, right? And you create that culture among the people to keep the branch neat and tidy, right? And give certain instructions properly. Now, all those things comes under this, right? So basically, when you get a question like this, if you answer in a general way, you may not get marks. Right? You have to answer it in a methodical way, where you talk about the theory and as well as the practice. So if this service quality, if someone is writing just without any model, he will get 0 marks. Sometimes the people who have not participated for classes, when you say service quality, they can write anything that they want. Do this, do this, do this. Now that is not going to work here, because when you are a postgraduate student, you must approach the problem in a methodical manner. So it takes, okay, you have to use a model. The model is this. So you use the model, and then you talk about one by one as to how you will practically do. Now that practice part is dependent on the student's ability, right? And even when you go to your branch today, look at this, right? Where is the tangible aspect? At what level? How can I improve? Is the assurance part is being well looked after? Or is there room for improvement? Now these are things you can go practically to your branch tomorrow and look at, right? So it's very important that you apply the theory into practice. So now it's 10 o'clock. Let's take a break. 10:05. So we'll meet at 10:30 and discuss further on service quality and then the service recovery. Okay, so let's take a break and meet up at 10:30. Right. We were discussing about the factors that affect service quality and the relationship between service quality and customer satisfaction. Now, if you look at the certain questionnaires that has been developed to measure the service quality and the 5 dimensions, you can find those here. Now, let's say tangibles, how they have measured it. So they were asking the questions. The bank has modern looking equipments. The bank's physical facilities are visually appealing. The bank's employees are neat appearing. Materials associated with the service, such as forms, brochures, statements, visually appealing at the bank. So they have asked these questions to measure tangible aspect. Then reliability aspect. Bank services are performed within the promised time. When I have a problem, the bank employees show sincere interest in resolving the problem. The bank correctly performs the service right the very first time. The bank provides its service right at the first time. The bank insists on error-free records. So these are the research areas that the questions that they have asked to measure reliability. Then under responsiveness, in the bank, I do not spend much time waiting in line. Bank employees are always willing to help. Bank employees are quick in eliminating potential errors. Bank employees quickly respond to my request. The areas they have asked to measure responsiveness. Then to measure assurance part, they have looked at bank employees are trustworthy. I feel safe in my transactions with the bank. Bank employees consistently courteous towards me. Bank employees have knowledge, have the knowledgeable to answer my questions. So that is to look at assurance part. To check empathy, they are looked at areas like the bank provides me an individual attention. The bank has convenience operating hours to my needs. The bank has employees who give me personal attention. The bank considers my wishes and needs. The bank employees show understanding of my specific needs. So these are the variables they have looked at to measure to study the reliability measures, right? Then again, if you look at another study, now they have looked at these aspects in measuring reliability. The bank performs its services without errors. Bank services are performed within the promised time. Bank employees show sincere concern in solving my problems related to bank business operations. The bank correctly performs the service from the very first time. The bank performs the service exactly as promised. The bank regularly sends me bank statements on my account balance to my home address. I have not had difficulties with bank cards of this bank. So likewise, they have looked at these parts and they have tried to measure reliability. So like you also can develop a questionnaire and basically distribute it with your employee, with your customers to measure these aspects related to your bank and your branch. Someone's mic is on. Dilusha, your mic is on. Right. So you also can do a mini research to find out where you are now and how you can go to the next level. So if you really look at some research done, so I have looked at one research, actually the two researchers done in Sri Lanka and published. Now this is a research done by Ushanta, Vijayaratna and Samantha. So if you really look at the findings, it says as all the coefficients of correlations are positive, it can be concluded that the better service quality leads to the higher level of customer satisfaction. So the research has proven what we have just discussed even for the Sri Lankan context. And this one actually has done with the state banks and private banks. Says the state banks were found to be superior in providing assurance, tangibility and reliability, and good in providing responsiveness and empathy. So that shows that state banks, when it comes to state banks, customers feel the assurance, tangibility and reliability is high, but there is room for improvement when it comes to responsiveness and empathy. All the dimensions of service quality indicating relatively higher performance, but state banks need to improve customer perception of empathy. Right? When you go to a state bank, whether you have been really understood and served with due care. The results of this study indicates that there is a strong positive individual linear correlation between each service quality dimension with the customer satisfaction. So this research has already proven what we have discussed. There is a relationship with service quality dimensions and customer satisfactions, because service quality dimensions affect service quality and service quality is related to satisfaction. So therefore, service quality dimensions are also related to customer satisfaction. Then they have found the dimension reliability was the leading determinant of customer satisfaction. So according to this research in Sri Lanka, the most important thing the customers look at when it comes to banking is the reliability dimension. This indicates that state banks should perform their services as promised to their customers correctly right at the first time, with error-free and showing sincere interest on customers' problem-solving abilities. So if the reliability is the most important part, then the researcher says, researcher has done this for the state banks. So he says state banks should perform their services as promised, right? Correctly first time, right? Error-free. So then they can meet this, right? Moreover, it indicated that providing high-quality service certainly improves customer satisfaction in state banks of Sri Lanka. So this is a research done in Sri Lanka with state banks, and that the findings complements what we have just discussed. State banks are performing at satisfactory level in trustworthiness of their employees and the bank's employees' courteousness towards customers and their knowledge to answer consumer questions. This there's a score 3.36 in the empathy. This indicates that the state banks may be performing relatively low in providing individualized service to their customers, understanding individual customer needs and wishes, and operating in inconvenience hours. So this is one of the key differences why some of the customers are moving to the private sector, which is identified in this research as well, because the customers find that sometimes when you go to the state banks, they do not actually have a lot of empathy towards you, and they are not very flexible like the private banks. So that may be the reason some people feel that private sector service is better. And so this is something for state banks to improve on. Then there was another research done in Sri Lanka, and the effect of service quality on customer loyalty. It says the findings reveal that tangibles, reliability, and empathy had a significant positive effect on customers' loyalty, while the effects of responsiveness and assurance on customer loyalty were positive but not very significant. So what they have found is that tangibles, the physical evidence, reliability, the accuracy, and empathy, understanding of the people, has a very high impact on customer loyalty. Right? But responsiveness and assurance has relatively low impact on loyalty. So therefore, according to this research, these three dimensions were looked at as very important. Right? So they were saying that the bank should develop proper strategies to tangibilize the intangible services. So when you go for like things like e-receipts, e-mandates, then EFD certificates, something for you to think about. Right. With this, we can move to e-service quality. Then now we were talking about serve call, right? Serve call actually was developed primarily to discuss about the encounters with face-to-face customers, right? But as we all know, now most of the banks are moving towards electronic services, and again the Parasuraman was looking at whether the same model can be applied, right? So looking at the whole change and e-services, in 2005 he created 22 item scale called ESCall, and then Setmil in 2002 created 7-dimension scale in which the first 4 dimensions constitute the core e-serve call scale, whereas the latter 3 come into play only when online customers have questions or run into problems. So first 4 is directly related to the e-service quality, but the last 3 of the 7 dimension comes into play when customers face problems, right? So the dimensions introduced by Setmil can be given as follows: the reliability, responsiveness, privacy, efficiency, the first 4 dimensions, then fulfillment, assurance, and empathy. So when it comes to e-services, they said these 7 dimensions determines the customer satisfaction. So if you really look at it, efficiency. Now, efficiency refers to the ability of the customer to get to the website, find their desired product and information, and check out with minimal effort. Now, when you get into a website, it should be very customer friendly for you to find what you want easily, get what you want done, and check out without a hassle. So if they can do that, that again that actually contributes to improve satisfaction with the website. So how you design the website, where you how you categorize. Now when you go to certain websites of banks, you find that they are easily categorized: personal, corporate, and sometimes cards. So you have categories, and when you click, how easily that you can navigate, how easily you can find what you want. Second one, fulfillment. This incorporates accuracy of service promises, having products in stock and delivering the products in the promised time. So you may find that there are certain websites that will talk about products, and you purchase products from the website, and it should reach you as promised. If it doesn't reach you, then you will lose the whole trust towards that. Now see, when you are purchasing from a website, it's unlike you're purchasing from a shop. Now when you go to the shop, you can see the product, you can take it and come. So the matter is over. But when you pay on a website, that you have not seen the product, you have to wait until it comes, right? So there is a particular dilemma in customers, whether they should buy from the website, and when they pay, how sure that they will get the goods on time. It's totally different from you going and buying from a shop. So to improve confidence, to improve satisfaction, websites should display within how many days the product will be delivered, and deliver the product as promised. So when they fulfill what they promise in that way, then the confidence is built on the website, so that the customer will come to purchase or to do transactions again and again. Third factor is reliability. Now it is associated with the technical functioning of the site, particularly the extent to which it is available and functioning properly. Right? So this has to be looked in, because when a customer wants to use your website, there can't be technical failures. For example, when the customer is trying to pay, suddenly there's a timeout, and as a result of the timeout, the customer is billed, his credit card is debited, but you have not received the response. So now the customer is in great trouble. He has to call the bank, he has to call you and sort out the issue. So that experience will disappoint the customer. So therefore, you must have a proper technical features, functions in your website, whereas it is not disrupted. Then the fourth factor is privacy. Right? Now this is a critical factor today, because the customers are increasingly worried about privacy and the privacy of their data, right? So you must provide assurance that the shopping behavior data are not shared, and that credit card information is secure, so that they will be not worried to place their card numbers with you, so that you can make it convenient for them to purchase products over and over again. Fifth factor is responsiveness. Now, this measures the ability of e-trailers to provide appropriate information to customer when a problem occurs. So you must have a mechanisms to handle returns and provide online guarantees, right? And provide, when there is a question, an answer for the frequently asked questions. Sixth factor, compensation. This is the dimension that involves receiving money back and returning shipping and handling costs. Because see, when you are purchasing from a website, you have a little bit of a doubt whether if something goes wrong, how can I get my money back, right? So as the doubt says, if something goes wrong, there should be an easy mechanism whereas the customer can complain and get his money back, and also a mechanism to return the product. So if that is the case, the customers will be more confident to purchase goods from you rather than trying to go to a shop, because they know that if something goes wrong, they have a way to resolve the matter easily. So these are the ones that you should work with when it comes to e-service quality, and when you are actually developing a website or a kind of a shopping mall, e-shopping mall, or electronic banking surface product, mobile app. So these dimensions are important that you to improve your service quality. So that is about e-service quality. So there can be a question on your exam to talk about e-service quality, and may tell you, okay, you have been you are in the verge of launching a product. How can you ensure quality of your website? How will you ensure quality of your electronic banking services? So when that question comes to you, you have to remember that you're not going to use the normal serve call method, but you have to use the e-service quality dimensions. Right. With this, let us move to service quality gap model. Right? Service quality gap model. Right. Now, this is a model which talks to you about the gaps that may occur in trying to deliver services based on what the customer expects and based on what the organization does, right? So if you really look at the gap one is between customer expectation and management expectations of what customer expects, right? So the management කළමනාකාරීත්වයේ හිතනවා මේක තමයි customer ඕනේ, this is what customer wants. Customer තියෙනවා expectation මේක තමයි මට ඕනේ කියලා. ඒතකොට මේ දෙන්න හිතන එකේ වෙනසක් ඇති වුණොත් එතනදී gap එකක් ඇති වෙනවා. right? උදාහරණයක් ලෙස අපි ගත්තොත් පළවෙනි example එක තමයි the customer is thinking I can't wait, right? I have to get it very fast. But the company thinks it's okay for a customer to wait for 5 minutes, right? So now the customer wants it instantly, whereas you feel developing a process to deliver it within 5 minutes is perfectly okay. So then there is a gap, right? So this fellow comes to get it done within a minute, and you are delivering it within 5 minutes. So there's a problem. Right? Then let's say, what are the practical examples? For example, if a customer comes during December season, where you have published a lot of offers to purchase a car. Now the bank might think when a customer applies for a credit card, it is okay to take 10 days to give him a credit card. Whereas your customer may be thinking, I need my credit card immediately so that when I get the card, I can go and do my shopping and get benefits from the discounts. So he comes to you to get the card within a day. Now that is the customer expectation. But when he comes to you, you are saying that, what is your problem? We will give it to you within 10 days. Now you should be able to wait for 10 days to get a credit card. So that is what you are thinking, right? So you are saying, wait, and the customer is having a problem. Customer feels that why can't I get it now so that I can get the benefits of the offers? So there is a gap. So can you develop a process to give it to him within a day? Have you developed or will you develop? The answer is no, because your expectation is a customer should wait for 10 days to get a card. That is okay. Right? So that is the difference. What you think customer want and what customer exactly want. The next gap is between management. Now this is called market research gap. Why we call market research gap? Because you are thinking what customer want is this, because you have not done a research and found out what exactly customer want. Right? So if you would have done proper research, then you may have identified what customer exactly wanted, so that there can't be a gap between what management think and what customer think. Right? So organizations can basically reduce this gap or eliminate this gap by doing research or listening to the customers or listening to their frontliners who will bring customers' voice, and then having a communication, upward communication, whereas the frontliners or the people who meet the customers or the customers can communicate their message to the top, so that the management is well educated about what customer wants. So if you can do that, then you can research, you can reduce this research gap and understand the customer. The second gap is management perceptions of what customer want and service standards. So when management thinks the customer is okay to get a credit card within 10 days, then the service is designed in such a way and the process is designed in such a way that the card is delivered within 10 days. So the service standards are developed based on what management think the customer want. As a result of that, when the customer comes to get the service, they find that there is a gap in the service standard. So they will say, why are you taking so long? This service, your process is very cumbersome, right? And they basically complain about your service standards. Now, long time back, a customer was okay to get a reply to his letter within 10 days. But today, a customer expects a reply to his email instantly. So then again, for example, if you think when a customer sends an email, it's okay to take 2-3 days to reply, the customer might say, no, it's not okay. So if you have designed your process in such a way, whereas you have staff, processes, procedures, systems in place to reply within 2 days, and customer wants it within 1 day, then there is a gap. Now that gap has happened due to the wrong designing of service standards and service processes. The second gap is the design gap. Right? Because you have lack of knowledge about what customer wants, you have developed your service standards and services in a way that he won't get what he wants as he wishes.
It's 11 o'clock.
So then there is a gap, and that is called the design gap. So the next gap is the conformance gap, gap 3, right? Now that is, you have designed a particular service standard and a service design, and when it comes to the delivery of the service, the delivery is not done according to the service standards. delivery is not done according to the service standard. So let's look at the service previous one, example for the previous one. Now, customer expectations versus company perception of what customer wants. Now, that happens due to poor marketing research orientation, lack of upward communication, insufficient relationship focus, right? So likewise, we can talk about, okay, we will go on with this. So the customer gap 3, service standards. Now, when it comes to service standards, now you have designed the service standard to deliver a card within 10 days or reply to an email within 2 days. And you have communicated, let's say you have published in your website that you will get your credit card within 10 days from the date that you apply, right? And then you will say, okay, when you send us an email, we will reply to you within 48 hours. So you have put the service standard. Now, when it comes to the delivery, there is a breach. So you say 10 days and you are delivering after 15 days. You say we will reply to you within 2 days, but you take 3 or 4 days to reply. Now, when that happens, that is conformance gap. You have developed some service standards, but your delivery is not up to the standard. As a result of that, what you have promised to the customer or the standard set and what you deliver, the delivery, there is a gap. And that is conformance gap, gap 3, right? Then the next gap. What is delivered? Your service delivery versus customer perception and customer perception. So that means the customer has a particular perception that you will deliver, you will basically issue a card within 10 days, right? But you are issuing the card within 15 days. Now, how is this perception developed? Now, that is developed with your communication. Because you have communicated to the customer that we will give it to you within 10 days. Likewise, you have a lot of communication, right? You say, okay, if you want to open an account, you will open it within 5 minutes. You have a loan within 1 day. Likewise, you communicate and create perception. And then when it comes to your delivery, if it is not meeting the perception that you have created in the customer towards your service, then there is a communication gap. Because you have communicated something, but your actual service delivery is not meeting it. So that the customer perception towards what you will deliver versus what is being delivered, there is a gap. So this is called communication gap. So then when you look at the gap 5, the last gap is what customer's expectation and the perceived service he has received. So as a result of that, there is a gap created here. What customer perceived that he has received, and then what customer has expected really, the gap is called the satisfaction gap, gap 5. Now you will find all these gaps when it comes to your organization, and it is important that you try to reduce these gaps. The first gap is we looked at as the knowledge gap, right? We called it research gap. That is expected services versus what management is thinking customer wanted. So this can happen, we called it the research gap. This can happen because of poor marketing research orientation, right? Because you are not doing research and trying to find out what customer want. Number 2, lack of upward communication, because you are not listening to your employees who are meeting customers. Insufficient relationship focus. The third factor is that you are not really willing to look at the relationships. You are trying to be in your, you're trying to do things the way you want. Okay. So when these things happen, basically this gap can be created. So how to close this gap? You have listened to the customers through research, cover company strategy to retain and strengthen the relationships, improve upward communication, listen to the customer and the frontliners. Then you come to the gap 2. So gap 2 is service design versus service what management has thought the customer wanted. Okay. So company perception of consumer expectation versus service standards. So what customer wants is waiting time of 5 minutes. Now, sorry, what company thinks that the customer wants is waiting time of 5 minutes. But the service is designed, or the service standards is waiting time 10 minutes. Right? So company thinks that the customer is okay when he gets within 5 minutes, but actually the service is designed to deliver it within 10 minutes. So therefore, what is designed and what company thinks also has a gap. Right? So this may be due to poor service design, lack of customer-driven standards, and lack of commitment to provide resources. How do you address this? You need to redesign your services. You can, for example, to reduce time, you can increase number of tellers, and then the speed. Then you can have counting machines, the ATMs, where the cash deposit machine, CDMs. So likewise, you can basically redesign how the things are working and improve the response time to meet what you think the customer want. Then you can reset these standards by doing some research, surveys, by looking at complaints and getting feedback from the customer. Now, if you look at gap 3 is that you have some service standards, but the actual delivery is not meeting the standard. This may be due to insufficient employees. So you have set standards, but you are not given resources. The second one can be customers not fulfilling roles. For example, you have asked the customer to fill the application properly and customer is not filling it. You have asked the customer to provide all the income details, but customer has not attached income details. So that will delay the process. Likewise. Then the third, failure to match supply and demand. Right? So you expect 4,000 applications, but you are getting 6,000 applications and now you can't meet the demand. Lack of qualification and experience. People who are actually doing the work does not have the adequate competence. As a result of that, they take a lot of time to finish the work. So based on these, you might find that there is a problem with the standard that you have set and the actual service delivery. So how can you close this? You can recruit qualified, experienced employees, and then you can do forecasting on daily manner. Then you can have foolproof mechanisms and support to consumers. For example, when they are trying to fill the form, basically you will say, okay, if you don't fill this mandatory field, you can't complete. So you may have seen these type of electronic mandates. When you are trying to complete, you are not allowed because you are not filled the important area. So likewise, you can have foolproof mechanisms, or else assistants who will support them to fill the forms. Right. Then use different colors so that you can get all important areas filled, right? And then you can also have certain checklists for them to aware what they should do, their role. Then the next one is service delivery versus what is being communicated to the customer. So your service delivery takes 20 minutes, whereas you have communicated to the customer as the time is 10 minutes. So then there is a gap. Right? So this happens when you have lack of integrated communication, ineffective management of customer expectations, and when you are trying to overpromise, right? When you're trying to overpromise. So it's important that you improve integrated communication, whereas you look at all communication channels delivering the same message. And when you are developing the communication, to make sure that you look at the practicality of what you communicate, right? And then manage customers' expectations accurately so that you can deliver what they expect. Fine. So that's about the gap model, right? So there will be a question to you on the gap model also. So the question can be like, what are the different gaps according to the service quality gap model? So that you should be able to answer, explain the different gaps. And they might tell you, okay, what can you do practically to close these gaps? Or what are the improvements you suggest? What are the reasons for these gaps? So these are possible questions, because this has been an area that has been questioned by the examiner over the last several years, right? So therefore, you have to get ready. You can do further studies on this gap model and get ready to answer questions. Fine. So next we are moving to service recovery. Now, before I move to service recovery, I would like you to watch some videos from Ron Kaufman on the same topic, service recovery, right? Which I feel is very important and helpful for us to go ahead with our discussion, right? So
I think we're unique because now, as you can see, we are in a studio atmosphere.
Right?
We're not in a remote atmosphere anymore. But hey, now, folks, I want you to look real carefully at everything's going along fine. You come home from work one day, you open up your mailbox, and there.
Right. So I'm going to go and show you the videos. So very carefully listen to this. This is a very good international trainer who will talk about service recovery. So after his session that we watch on the YouTube, we will move to our discussion. But I would like you to take some notes if you wish from this video and basically look at the importance, or perhaps even after the class you can watch it slowly again, right? So let's watch it.
I look at him and I go, you know, that's a good idea. He goes, Ron, it's better than that. Service is a two-way street. I said, yeah. He goes, last night I gave her great
service on the phone. I said, yeah. He goes, tonight we're going home. I said, good idea, man. Wow. It's a tactic. It's called under promise. Promise less than you know that you can deliver. Sometimes it's a tactic. You can't use it all the time. After you under promise, you're in position to do what? Over deliver. It's a tactic. There's also a strategy. I don't have time to cover it today, but it's in the tapes. It's go to the next page. Everything I'm talking about so far is what happens when service goes right. Does service always go right? No, sometimes it goes wrong. What do you do then? Let's take a look. Let's say we take you and we send you off to a foreign country. We're going to ask you to run the local office in Bangkok, Thailand. We'll get you a nice condominium. We're going to get you a good office, but there's some things that you have to do for yourself, like open your checking account. So you look across the street, you see two banks side by side, right next to each other. Does that happen? It does, right? Branch banking, right? So you remember Ron Kaufman's session. You go, I'm going to go to the bank that has a better checking account product. Minimum balance, number of checks, per month charge, interest on the balance in the checking account, overdraft charge. It turns out they're exactly the same. Does that happen? Sure does. So you decide, fine, I'm going to go to the bank that's got better delivery systems. Who's got more branches? Who's got more ATMs? Who's got 24-hour support on the phone? It turns out they're exactly the same. And you know what? You can't judge based upon service mindset when you're going to open an account. Because when you go to open an account, everybody's nice to you. So you flip a coin. Okay, you go to the one on the right. You walk in, you fill out the paperwork. 2 weeks later, you go home, you open up the mailbox, and inside is a letter, a package from the bank. What's inside? Your checks. They spell your name correctly. You use the checks. You pay your bills. You give checks to people you owe money to. At the end of the month, you get your checking account statement. Everything is accurate. Your loyalty to that bank goes which way? Up or down? How high? Come on, show me with your fingers, everybody. Ready? How high? Yeah, and like a bit. Why? Because you've now got your checking account. Write it down. Now, you've been there for 2 months. Every time you use your credit card for your local Malaysian bank, will they accept that credit card in Thailand? Yes or no? Yes, that's the whole point of having Visa and MasterCard. So you go ahead, use your credit card from your Malaysian, and your Malaysian bank will do you a wonderful favor. Every month, they will take all the charging that you do in Thai baht, and they will convert it over to Malaysian ringgit. Do you ever notice on the statement that they never really show you, right, the rate of exchange? Ever wonder why? Well, after you've been there for 3 months in Thailand, you pull out the calculator one day, you go, tuk, 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 whoa. And you realize why they don't show you the rate of exchange, because they're making money. Now, if you're going to be in Thailand for 3 years, you figure it's time to get yourself a credit card in the local currency. Which bank will you go to? Will you go back to the same bank? Yeah, because you've got some loyalty here, right? But if the other bank had a credit card with a lower annual fee or a lower interest amount on your outstanding balance, would you switch? Might. So you check them out. They're exactly the same. So you've already got some loyalty to this bank, so you go back. You fill out the paperwork. 2 weeks later, you come home. You open up the mailbox. There's a little package from the bank. You open it up. What's inside? Your credit card. You start to use the card. People accept the card. You get your monthly statement. Everything is accurate. Your loyalty to the bank goes which way? Up or down? How high? Show me with your fingers. Yeah, a little bit more. You've now got the card. Now you've been in Bangkok for 5 months, and you're sick and tired of taxis in Bangkok, because sometimes the air conditioning doesn't work and you're stuck in traffic. And sometimes the taxi driver insists upon playing the radio and the speaker is broken and you can't stand it. And one day you get in the taxi and you can see the road running along underneath the floorboard. Ah! You decide it's time to buy a car. You go out shopping. You pick for yourself a brand new BMW 700 series with a sunroof. 6 speakers on the inside. A 40 CD changer in the boot. You have them customize it. Take out the back seat, put in a small jacuzzi. But to buy this incredible car, you need a car loan. Which bank do you go to for the car loan? Same bank. In fact, by now, you're starting to call it my bank. What do you call your bank? My bank. You know what? In Thailand, they don't say that. So your staff says to you, where are you going? You say, I'm going down to my bank. They go, oh, you own the bank? Well, no, it's just what we call. You fill out the paperwork. They give you the loan. You get the car. You're driving your new car. Your loyalty to the bank goes which way? Up or down? Up. How high? More. You've got the car. When you opened up your checking account, how many people do you tell about your brand new checking account? Anybody? No. When you get yourself a new credit card, how many people do you tell about your new credit card? Anybody? Can you imagine if you walked into the office and said, look at that, got myself a credit card. You know what they'd say? Oh, is that your first one? No, you keep it to yourself. What about when you buy a brand new BMW 700 Series, 6 speakers, 40 CD changer in the boot, and a jacuzzi in the back seat? How many people do you tell about your brand new car? Everybody. How many people do you tell about your car loan? Nobody. You walk around saying things like, paid cash.
The right domain name can make the difference for your business online. Find and select the one that best shouts out your business.
Bang. Now, folks, I want you to look real carefully at what's inside this circle. And let's ask ourselves, what does it say? If a customer has a problem with your organization or with you or your company, and you fix the problem, now everything's going along fine. You come home from work one day, you open up your mailbox, there's your monthly credit card statement. You open it up as you're going up the elevator. Hold on, something doesn't look right. As soon as you get upstairs, you go to your files, you pull out your banking files, you open up the credit card file, you take out last month's credit card statement, and you put it side by side with this month's credit card statement. You start to compare. Hey, there's a hotel. It's on my card again this month. I didn't go back again this month. I already paid it last time. There's a restaurant, same number. I didn't. Clothing store, Hey, this bank is taking charges off of last month's account and they're putting it on again. They're double billing me. This bank is ripping me off. Which way does your loyalty go? Up or down? How far? Bam! Drops like a rock. How many people do you tell? Everybody. You pick up the phone and you call the credit card office. Give them a piece of your mind. Hi, can I help you? Yeah, you can help me. I got a problem here with my credit card. You take a look. And she goes, oh, sir, what seems to be the problem? You say, you tell you the problem. You pull up this month's statement and last month's statement and put them side by side. You got 3 charges on there, a hotel, a restaurant, a clothing store. I didn't go back a second time. You're billing me twice. You're ripping me off. She goes, oh, sir, I can see exactly what you mean. He goes, of course you can see what I mean. You think I'm crazy? She says, no, sir, I didn't say you were crazy. Upset, yes, but crazy, no, I didn't say you were crazy. What are you going to do about it? She goes, it's done, sir. It's done. What do you mean it's done? It's done. I've posted a credit for the full amount of those 3 charges to your credit card. You'll see it offsetting your outstanding balance on next month's statement. And sir, please accept my apologies for the inconvenience. You're still upset. You say, don't let it happen again. Boom, hang up the phone. Where does your loyalty go? Up or down? Up. How high? She fixed the problem. That afternoon, somebody calls you. It's the branch manager. Says, I'd like to speak to you. And you go, yep, this is me. And he says, sir, I'm the branch manager from your bank, Mr. So-and-so. And you say, what do you want? And he says, well, I was informed by one of our credit card officers that we inconvenienced you with a small billing error on your credit card statement. And, well, sir, and you say, yeah, well, never mind. She fixed the problem. And he says, well, sir, ma'am, I know that she fixed the problem, but I just thought I'd give you a call and, well, see if we could fix things up a little better with you. And you say, well, what do you mean? And he says, sir, I was looking through your account records and I noticed that you have your checking account, your credit card, and your car loan all with our branch of the bank. And you say, yeah, that's true. And he says, well, sir, as I was going through the records, I noticed what kind of car you bought. And you go, yeah. He said, well, sir, we've never had anybody buy as nice a car as you bought with a loan from our branch. And you go, well, got to drive, you know. And he goes, sir, you know, if you don't mind, I'm kind of an aficionado of new cars. The next time you come down to the branch, would you mind looking me up so I can take a look at your brand new car? And you say, yeah, sure. What'd you say your name was? And he says, the name is so-and-so. And sir, if you would write down my direct phone line, then if you need any other banking services, you can call upon me personally. I'll be happy to take care of you. And you say, sure. What'd you say your name? And you write it down. You write his number down on one of those little scraps of paper next to the telephone. Honestly, how long are you going to keep that? A couple of days, maybe a week. Go into the garbage can. You're about to hang up and you say to the guy, you know, I didn't expect you to make this phone call. And he says, well, to be perfectly honest, sir, we didn't expect to make the mistake. But as long as it happened, I wanted to use it as an opportunity to let you know how much we appreciate that you do your banking with our branch of the bank. And now you're in a good mood and you say, well, thank you very much. Have a good night. And he says, thank you, sir. Thank you. Good night. Click, click. Where does your loyalty go? Up or down? Up. How high? Yeah, well, it goes back up to where it was before the problem ever happened. There's a phrase for this we use in the service training industry. We call it service recovery. And you know what? It's a good name because, look, we recovered the ground that you lost. It's like falling in a hole and digging your way back out. Hey, look what you put your customer through. Fortunately, this bank realized that when a problem happens, you can use it as a big opportunity to increase your customers' loyalty. And a week later, you come home and you open up the mailbox and there's another package from the bank, but you're not expecting anything. You're going up the elevator, you open it up, and inside there's a nice letter, and it's something made out of leather. But what is this? You start to read the letter. It says, "Dear Mr. You, I was recently informed by your branch manager, Mr. So-and-so, that we inconvenienced you with a small billing error on your credit card statement, which has since been rectified. Upon review of your account, I note that you have your checking account, credit card, and car loan all with the branch of the bank. As an expatriate in Thailand," at which point in reading the letter you realize what you're reading is one of those highly personalized, computerized letters. "As an expatriate in Thailand, I thought you might be interested in some of the other services we can provide." And the next paragraph talked about the foreign currency deposits you could get through the bank. And the one after that talked about the insurance policies you could buy through the bank. And the one after that talked about the trading you could do on the Thai stock exchange through your branch of the bank. And then it said, "Should any of these services be of interest to you, please feel free to call your branch manager, Mr. So-and-so, at his direct phone line." And there's that phone number again. What are you going to do with this piece of paper? Put it in your files, and the next time you need service, you know where to go. And then it says, "P.S. As a gesture of goodwill and appreciation for your understanding in that prior matter, enclosed with this letter, you will find a small travel wallet. Compliments of the bank." It's one of those cheap ones they give away when you open a new account. It doesn't cost them very much, but you did not expect it. Where does your loyalty to the bank go? Boom, it shoots up. And then over time, you get your foreign currency deposits and your insurance, and you do your trading with the stock exchange with the bank. Bank. Now, folks, I want you to look real carefully at what's inside this circle. And let's ask ourselves, what does it say? If a customer has a problem with your organization or with you or your company, and you fix the problem, you're only going to get back that much of the loyalty that you lost. And you know what? I'll bet in most of your organizations when something goes wrong, people say, "Hey, I fixed the problem." Like the story's over. The story is not over. If you fix the problem and you're nice about it, you'll get back to where you were before the problem ever happened. But if you do something more, something extra, something a little bit unexpected, you could actually bounce their loyalty up higher than if the problem never even happened. I call this bouncing back with outstanding service recovery, and I want you to write it down. Bouncing back with impeccable service recovery. Now, my story is about a bank. But you all don't work in banks. Some of you do, but most of you don't. So let me give you one more story, but I'll make it a personal story about you. And then you tell me whether or not you think this principle is really true. I want you to leave this seminar today, this Congress, and I want you to go out, and I want you to find a boutique that sells Italian leather shoes. And I want you to find yourself a brand new pair of Italian leather shoes, and I want you to pay 700 ringgit cash. When you get home with your brand new shoes, what are you going to do with the shoe box? Hey, for 700 ringgit, you're going to keep the box. What are you going to do with the bag that has the brand on the side of the bag? Keep it. Ladies are going, keep it, keep it. What do you do with them? I don't know, but never mind. Keep it. What are you going to do with that little piece of paper that's your cash receipt? Oh, come on. You don't have a big pile of cash receipts at home. What are you going to do with it? Throw it out. A week later, I want you to go walking down the street wearing your brand new shoes, and you're going to step on one of those metal grates in the sidewalk. And as you lift up, you're going to feel a tug. turn around just in time to see that the heel has popped off and is going splash into the water. You're going to go, oh, and start walking like this. Oh my goodness. These are my brand. I just paid $700 and they hit it. The heel shouldn't pop off my brand new shoe. And by the time you get home, you are absolutely committed to returning these shoes. So you take the shoes and you put them back in the shoebox. You put the shoebox back in the bag. You take the bag and you go back down to that boutique and you go walking in to return these shoes. But as you walk up, you're a little bit nervous because you don't have your... Never mind. You get up to the counter and the fella goes, hi, can I help you? You say, yeah, I just bought these brand new shoes here, and well, as you can see, and he opens up the top and goes, hey, the heel popped off. And you say, exactly right, you know, brand new shoes, I didn't think it should happen. I came to return them so I can get a new pair of shoes. He goes, no problem. Do you have your... What do you do? Well, no, I paid cash, but you remember me, don't you? I mean, I was here just a week ago. Don't you remember me? At that moment, how anxious do you feel? Real anxious. Now imagine he looks at you, gives you a smile, and says, we do sell that brand of shoe here. I am so glad that you brought them back so we can set this right. Takes the box and puts it under the counter on his side, gives you a nice big smile and says, now, would you like another pair of the same model, same shoe, same size, or would you like a credit for the full amount? And you can look at some of the new shoes that came in. How do you feel? Whew. Relieved. You say, no, same shoe. Say, actually, I like it, same model, if you could just, and he goes, no problem. Goes in the back, gets you another brand new pair of the same shoes, same model, same size. You take them, you try them on, you check the heel, you know, see. You put a brand new shoes, you go, oh, thank you so much. He puts them in the bag. You're almost out the door. And he goes, hold on 1 minute. And he goes, now hold on a second. And he goes over to the rack that has the branded socks hanging from it. And he spins the rack and he looks at you and he looks at your shoes. Picks one of the socks, folds it up and puts it inside a little paper bag, folds it shut and tapes it. Walks over to you and says, for you. A gesture of appreciation to thank you for coming back so that we could set this right. And you're looking at him going, thank you. Thank you. That is very nice of you. Thank you very much. And out you go. The next time you buy yourself a pair of expensive Italian leather shoes, would you go back to that shop? Yes or no? Yeah, you would bring back your repeat business. Would you tell other people about it? Yes, you would spread positive word of mouth. Hey. You would go back to that same boutique. But that boutique sells shoes where the heels pop off. Let's face it. Heels pop off in life, right? I mean, figuratively and literally, things go wrong. You never know when, but what you do know is that if something goes wrong with something you bought from that boutique, they're going to set you right. You don't know that about any other boutique in all of Malaysia, so your loyalty to that shop goes higher than if the problem had never happened. So maybe your strategy for building your business should be to go out and mess it up for all your customers. No, I'm kidding. I can see you now. Hey, boss, I got a great idea. You know? No, don't do that. But what I am saying is when something goes wrong, use it to your advantage and set it right. Now, let me ask you a question about that young man, the clerk. Do you think he woke up one day and said, oh, I have a brilliant idea. I'm going to give away socks. No. It wasn't the clerk's idea. Somebody in the organization, someone in management, someone at supervisory level made the decision that they were going to build a strategy for service recovery so that whenever something goes wrong, you know you're going to get them back up high again. They were smart. They'd thought it through. Have you? What did that pair of socks cost them? 10 ringgit wholesale, maybe less? You think they're going to make the money back with the next purchase of shoes? Oh, yeah. What about you? I want you to turn to your partner. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Do you have a strategy for service recovery that guarantees that when something goes wrong for one of your customers, boom, you're going to bounce them back up? If you do, tell your partner, what is it? If you don't, tell your partner, what should it be? You got 30 seconds. Ready? Go. All right. Woo! Maybe you're wondering, what I'm talking about now is no longer customer satisfaction. Everybody's going for customer satisfaction. It's a commodity today. Oh, we're for customer delight. That's cute. Shows your competition. The only thing that matters today is customer loyalty. Building up not only an excellent mindset, but an excellent service relationship that builds up long-term with your customers so that they say, hey, when it comes to that industry, there's only one company I want to be doing business with, the same company I've been doing business with, your business. In this program, Service Encounters of the Third Kind, I talk about how you shift from customer satisfaction to customer delight, from customer delight to customer loyalty. That's why it's the third kind. Invest in these tapes and you get a lot. You can watch the video. You can listen to the audio while you're driving or exercising. You can use the workbook. Important ideas, strategies, techniques. And this pack goes to that young lady right there in yellow because she's going, okay, you win. Would you pass that back to her, please? All right. For the rest, I love you too. For the rest of you, they're going to be available all along here and just outside. And you guys got good news. Somebody said the Malaysian economy is not. And I say, oh, Ron, you got to give him a discount. You got to give him a really big discount. Ron, you got to give him a big discount. And Richard Tam was going boom, boom, boom on my head. You guys got the biggest discount of anybody in the region. Talk to you about it later, but it's just here just today. Now, let's go to the last one. Does all this stuff make sense? Isn't it common sense? Yeah, if it's such common sense, though, how come we don't find more organizations that have excellent service? Good question, isn't it? It's a question that I always start by asking the front line. I go into a new organization and I say, how come service isn't better around here? And you know what the front line always says to me? Are you kidding? With managers like we've got? They say, do what I say, not what I do. They say, cut the budget, cut the budget, cut the budget. So I go to the managers, I go, hey managers, how come service isn't better around here? You know what they always say to me? Are you kidding? With frontline staff like we've got? Now, what do you call this? Finger pointing, right? But I also learned in Asia we call it Tai Chi. I know you laugh. I'm an American. I call it what I see it. I call it at the bottom of the barrel, B-L-A-M-E, blame. Hey, I got a question for you. Does blame improve service in your organization? Yes or no? Does it make things worse? Yeah, it does, because you get people upset. It demoralizes everybody. Nobody can do a good job. So then people start to realize that every time I point my finger and I blame you, there's 3 fingers pointing back at me. And they go, oh, maybe I'm accountable for this. Maybe it's partly my fault. And then they start to realize, oh gosh, you know, I made the same mistake twice. Or, oh, I didn't work as hard as I could have. I knew I should have, but I didn't. And then they start to feel ashamed. And one level up from blame is blaming yourself, which I call shame. Does shame improve service in your organization? Yes or no? No. Can you imagine trying to improve service in an organization where everybody's walking around going, I'm so stupid. I made the same mistake again. Of course not. So then we got to move up. Move up. We say, I'm not going to blame you. You're not going to blame me. I'm not going to blame me. You're not going to blame you. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's the computer's fault. It's the system's fault. It's the budget's fault. It's the schedule's fault. It's the policy's fault. It's the procedure's fault. It's the process fault. Make an excuse. One level up from shame is justify. Justification. Hey, does justification improve service inside your organization? Yes or no? No. There's only one group of people that should operate below this blue line. Lawyers. And I'm glad I ain't one of them. You go. Well, you got a problem with lawyers. The only place that you can go, that you have to go, if you really want to improve service in your organization, or ladies and gentlemen, if you want Malaysia, boleh, you got to go above the blue line. And that means that every single one of us means we have to commit ourselves to take personal, what is it? Yeah, responsibility. And I choose my words real carefully. I don't say, wait to be given personal responsibility. I don't say, hang around to see it because some shows up. I say, you got to take personal responsibility. What does that mean? That means that within your area of responsibility, your job, you will do every single thing that you can to do the best you can do. You will follow through. You will go the extra mile. You will learn about your product. You'll learn about your delivery system. You'll study. You'll upgrade yourself. You'll commit yourself to learn, improve, and grow. You'll take every action you possibly can within your area of responsibility to be the best. It also means that you will reach outside of your immediate area of responsibility. You will extend your circle of influence. If you see something coming down the pike that doesn't affect you, but you know it's going to affect your partner in another department, you're the one that picks up the phone and calls and said, hey, I just noticed something I thought you ought to know. If you've got an idea to improve the whole organization, you're the one that raises your hand and says, I got a suggestion. I got a recommendation. Could we have a meeting? Let's initiate a conversation here. I want to help make everything go better. Take personal responsibility.
Right. I'm sure that you learned a lot from him, and he's one of the very renowned trainers, Ron Kaufman. So you can watch more of his videos. It's very interesting, and at the same time, it delivers very varied messages. So let's move on to service marketing, service recovery, session 1. You look at the service recovery. What is service recovery? That is actions taken by an organization in response to service failure, right? Now, as we know, service failures are unavoidable because sometimes when you promise certain things, due to various factors, you may not be able to deliver what you promised, right? At the same time, you might you might not deliver on time, so you may get late or you might get slow. Then sometimes the outcome may be incorrect, right? You might credit a wrong account, you might post a debit wrong debit, you might send a wrong statement, right? So sometimes, apart from all the mistakes that can happen due to systems, procedures, lack of resources, there can be situations where the employees become rude, or employees do not provide the service with due courtesy, where the people get upset. So when this type of issues happen, the results can be dissatisfaction, right? Then the second one can be defection. Now defection is people leave your organization. Third, negative word of mouth. They will start telling negative things about your brand, your service to others. Then fourth is loss of business, that the customer will not come to you again, so that you will lose repeat business and the lifetime value. And at the same time, when they spread negative word of mouth, you will lose some of your existing customers as well as new customers coming into your organization. So eventually it will lead to a loss of revenue. So if you have good service recovery strategy, that means actions taken by the organization in response to service failure, it can help you to improve the customer satisfaction, loyalty, and generate positive word of mouth even when something goes wrong. Further, it can also improve and provide information to improve your service standards and take corrective measures to avoid repetition of similar issues. So when the customer complains you, it is not only a complaint. We generally say complaint is a gift given to you in a bad wrapping, right? And when you get the complaint, you'll be able to understand why it happened, where things have gone wrong, and do something to improve the root cause so that it will not happen to others. Example, the root cause can be a process failure. It can be a system failure. It can be a failure of your staff due to lack of competence or lack of motivation, lack of training. So once you identify the problem, you can solve it so that others will not get impacted with that. Then the next one is when you have a proper service recovery strategy, it can help you to improve continuously and uplift your service levels, thereby get a competitive advantage, right? Further, when you have service recovery strategies and win customers, it will motivate your employees also. Because if you are having continuous service failures and your employees are getting blamed continuously by customers, they will also get upset about the organization and they will feel demotivated to work. But with the service recovery strategies, you'll be able to regain the customer confidence, generate positive word of mouth, and basically motivate your employees to work in your organization, right? So if you really look at the example of Hampton, the Hampton gives a guarantee, right? So they were at a different level and they actually was able to basically increase their business at a very higher rate when they came up with this guarantee. So they were guaranteeing friendly service, clean rooms, comfortable surrounding every time. And they say, if the customer is not satisfied, you don't have to pay, right? So that's their commitment to the guarantee, right? So when you have such a quality level being set and a guarantee is given, there's a higher chance that the customers will come to you because they know that you have taken a higher risk than they are going to take by coming into your organization. So if you really look at poor service and service failures, as you have seen in the training, it can create negative feelings and responses from customers. So when there is a service failure, obviously the customer is angry, is negative, right? The negative emotions will occur after a service failure, and then it will result the customer to disconnect with your organization. So when a poor service encounter happens, you will create negative emotions, and as a result of the negative emotions and the inconvenience caused, generally the responses can be the anger, disconnect, leave the organization, cancel accounts, disappointment, then self-pity. Sometimes the customer feel pity about themselves. Customer customer, right? And the next one is anxiety. වික්ෂිප්ත භාවය. මේ මට මොකක්ද දුන්නේ? මම ඇයි මෙතනට ගියේ? දැන් මගේ ඉස්සරහට මොකද වෙන්නේ? Right? මේ organization එකේ කොහොමද ඉන්නේ? The anxiety, right? So when a customer face a service failure, this is what is happening. Anger එනවා, disconnect වෙනවා, ඊට මොකක්ද දාලා යනවා brand එක, disappoint වෙනවා. customer ගැනම customer දුක හිතෙනවා, right? නැත්නම් customer anxiety එකක් ඇති වෙනවා to work with your organization. දැන් මේ වගේ වෙලාවට there are different responses also. Give me a second. Right. So, when something goes wrong with your organization and the customers are disappointed, if you do not attend to such clients, that may result them leaving your organization. So they will leave your organization. Then second thing that can happen is that they will spread negative thoughts and opinions about your company and the brand. Basically, they will spread negative word of mouth. The other thing is that they can also challenge the organization by complaining to consumer protection authorities and organizations. So we have come across these type of people also. So when they face a service failure, they will not only complain to you, but they will complain to central bank. They will complain to consumer affairs authority, right? So they will complain.
It's 12 o'clock.
The worst situation is that they will sometimes sue the company for damages. So that is what you learn in the banking law as cases, right? So 2-year case, so on and so forth, where customers has faced problems with the organization, and when they are not properly attended or not properly resolved, they have gone to the courts to sue against the bank and ask for compensation, right? The next one is they might support competitors or create competition, right? So when they are disappointed, they will go to other banks and they will sometimes, to teach a lesson to you, they will start supporting the competitor by bringing in business and basically convincing people to move from your organization to the competitors. Especially if you mess up with the opinion leader of a particular area, this can be, this will happen. The other one is sometimes they can create competition. For example, if you look at Richard Branson and look at his story, he says that he started Virgin Airlines because he got a bad experience with the airlines. So he said, so when I get a bad experience, I thought, why not I develop an organization which can provide a better experience. So sometimes they might get disappointed and they will create competition for you. Then finally, the negative impact on profit and long-term sustainability is observed when services fail and you don't attend to it promptly, right? So these are the repercussions of service failures, right? Service failures. What are those? Customers will leave your organization. They will share negative thoughts and opinions. They will spread negative word of mouth. They will challenge the organization by going to third parties such as Consumer Affairs Authority, Central Bank, the Financial Ombudsman. Then they will sue the company for damages, support competitors, or create competition, and they will all this will finally affect negatively on profit and long-term sustainability, because you will lose repeat business as well as new referrals. Plus, you might lose some of your existing customers who might leave with the customer who will leave because he's disappointed, he or she is disappointed. So instead of ignoring service issues, if you resolve service issues effectively, promptly, that will create satisfaction. And as you have seen in the training, the customer will be satisfied and he will be happy that you have attended to it promptly. Then it also creates relationship and loyalty. So as per our experience, we know we have encountered several times issues in the bank, and when you actually call the customer who has faced a negative situation and basically you visit him and give him a cake or you give him some solution, it will create some loyalty and relationship. Sometimes the customers where you have encountered issues subsequently become very loyal customers. Then the third one is positive word of mouth communication, right? So when you attend to issues easily and support a customer and help him to come out of the situation, then that customer will go spreading positive word of mouth about your organization. Fourth factor is that when you resolve an issue properly, it will induce repeat purchase. Then the customers will come again and again to you because they trust you and they have confidence that if something goes wrong, you are there for them and you will support them, right? Then the final result is a positive impact on profit as a result of all the positive things that has been generated due to proper service recovery. However, it's very important that you understand the recovery paradox. That is where Ron Kaufman asked you, can you do this? Can you do this deliberately and enjoy this, right? Now, when you really look at his example, when you make a mistake and when you contact the customer and recover it, sometimes the customer might become more loyal to you than he was. In the banks also, when something goes wrong and you give them an exceptional service, they will become more loyal than they were. Right? So then you find, right, my goodness, now because this thing has gone wrong and I was able to meet this customer and build a relationship, I'm getting this much of business. So can I do it again to others and do it deliberately? Right? So you make a mistake deliberately and you take an opportunity, you call the customer and then you start developing relationship. Right? So in the recovery paradox, it talks about that. So an initial disappointed customer who will experience a good service recovery might be even more satisfied and loyal as a result. If above is true, should we first mess up and disappoint a customer and then use an excellent service recovery to delight him or her again to get more loyalty? Can you do this? The problem, the question, now this is a very important problem to answer. Can we really do it? Now, before I go to the next slide, let me ask all of you, can you really do it? What do you think? What do you think, Anuradha? Can you disappoint customers and then win over them and then become very happy? Anuradha, what do you think?
So I think that it should not be purposely make this point the customer. If you have any oversight done from the bank side, then we make it to have make it as an opportunity to grab their confidence again.
But if you deliberately do it, you have opportunity to increase the loyalty. What do you think? වැරදි account එකට credit කරපුවම customer එනවා අඬාගෙන. අපි කියනවා it's don't worry අපි බලන්නම් කියලා අපි හරි ගස්සද. the customer මාරයිනේ මේගොල්ලෝ හරි උදව් කරනවා. එහෙම වෙනවා. interesting. ඒක තමයි ඒකට paradox කියන්නේ. paradox කියන්නේ අපිට ඔව් කියන්නත් බෑ නෑ කියන්නත් බෑ. ඒ වගේ එකකට තමයි paradox කියන්නේ. හරි. So that is what Anuradha is facing. What do you think, Dilusha? Dilusha මොකද හිතන්නේ?
Yeah, I mean, when I made some mistakes, I have done this, but if we do this purposefully, I think it's a scam and it might get exposed and we will be in a bigger trouble or something.
Okay, that's what Dilusha think. අපි ආමු විශිෂ්ටගේ. විශිෂ්ට, what do you think?
Purposely we don't do it, but we have to adhere to the rules and regulations.
But can you do it purposely and then win customers?
Normally we don't do purposely, no.
What happens if you do purposely?
If we are doing purposely, then customers' confidence will go. We can't win there.
Right, okay, interesting.
Into our rules and regulation, we can explain them about it, why we did like this, why we refused, and we can get them back.
Fine, okay, thank you, Visista. So let's look at it. Why we can't do it? The possibility to recover will arise only if you are notified about a problem. Now let's say that you have done a particular, you have made a mistake, and most of the customers sometimes may not talk to you. They will really get disappointed and they will move away, right? Then only very few will contact you and complain. Second one, many customers are very passive about their dissatisfaction. They will not talk to you most of the time. They will just move away. They may not bother to complain, but may decide not to repurchase or deal with a competitor. Right? Majority of the customers simply is one. Then the other things. Service recovery action is costly. Right? Although you think it's very interesting, it comes to you with a cost. Right? It's a costly affair and may affect the bottom line. Right? So if you start disappointing people and try to make them happy, then you have to do it at a cost. So then your cost will go up and it will affect the bottom line. Recovery efforts should be absolutely superlative compared to the mistakes. So when you do a mistake, to bring him back to the same loyalty level and take him even further, you have to do something extraordinary and absolutely superlative compared to the mistake. So it's not going to be easy. Therefore, company has to bear both cost of correcting the mistake, that is number one. So you have to either repeatedly do it, or you have to change it, or you have to incur some cost of correcting the mistake. And not only that, you have to incur a cost to compensate and win the customer. Right? So not only that you have to correct as in the example of Ron Kaufman, not only you have to correct the statement of the customer, but you may also have to send him a gift to bring him to a higher loyalty level. Right? So it's a costly affair. It's not a simple affair. Right? Then other one is, as Visista say, when you continuously make a mistakes and try to recover, it will have a negative impact on reliability aspect of your service quality. Now, with reliability, as we have learned, is a key determinant of service quality. And when you do it, especially in the banking sector, if you lose that confidence, then you will be in great trouble. The overall feeling towards the brand may remain negative even after service recovery. Customer may also react and tarnish the brand before a service recovery effort is initiated. For example, if you have done a wrong billing, you have debited the account wrongly, before you initiate, before you call him, apologize and do whatever, he may say it to 20, 30 people, or he may post it in the Facebook, or he may Twitter it, right? So then, by the time you initiate the service recovery, damage has already happened. Damage has already happened, and he may not recall those, right? So overall perception towards the brand may get negative, plus he may react before you. Another recovery paradox will largely depend on the context and the situation. There is no guarantee for you that the customer will be more satisfied hours after service recovery. Now, we think in the general norm, when you do a service recovery action, compensate the customer, he will become more satisfied. But there is no guarantee that it will happen in that way, right? Sometimes with certain customers, there's only one chance. If you go wrong, they will never come back to the same confidence level. Although it may become successful after one failure, remember the second failure, you can't, you may not be able to recover it accordingly. Right? You will do a mistake once, you will overcome it, recover. But if you do it second time, then you may not get a chance to recover. Right? So it is not, there's no guarantee that the customer will be happy with the service recovery effort all the time. Right? So therefore, what we have to think about is that service recovery is good thing, but it is not going to happen all the time. But then again, also you remember, this service recovery can be done only at certain contexts. But at certain times, there is no result from the service recovery actions. For an example, if you are given a chance to take wedding photographs and you have messed up the photographs, you can't basically recover that. You can't expect them to marry again and take photographs again. And even if you pay them the whole money or you don't take your charge, that's not going to make them happy. They are going to go to town and tarnish your image because that's one of their key events and you have messed it up. You can't implement a service recovery strategy and sort it out. Right? And when you go for a hotel and make a reservation, if you go with your friend and you have not made the reservation right and you face an embarrassing situation, that may be fine. But sometimes if you have gone to that particular hotel after making a reservation with your brand new girlfriend and you face an embarrassing situation, the situation is worse than you have gone with a friend. Right? So based on the situation, right, based on the context, there are times that you cannot recover using service recovery strategies. So therefore, don't think that when things go wrong, every time you'll be able to fix it and come back to the same level. It's not going to happen, right? So, so remember, service recovery is important. When you have that, you will be able to bring back the loyalty and protect your customers. But it is not going to work for you all the time. Number two, it's not going to serve you. It's not going to serve you without a cost. It is costly. Number three, there is no guarantee that you can bring back the customer to the same level with a service recovery strategy. Again, number four, that before you initiate the service recovery strategy, there can be a bigger damage done by the customer to you. So therefore, remember, service recovery strategy is very important. Service recovery actions are very important, but you cannot think that just because you have a service recovery strategy or mechanism, you will be able to overcome all issues that will be created with your services. It's not going to happen. So the right thing is do it right first time theory. Okay? Or don't rely on service recovery. Service recovery actions are there, strategies are there when something goes wrong. As a measure of basically resolving an issue or basically reducing the impact. The correct thing should be to deliver your service right first time. Right? So that is the difference. That is the importance of that. Right? So if a question is asked in that way, you must argue in such a way. Right? So what we do is we will stop from here. Right? And then we will move on to other areas next week, right? Why people complain and why they don't complain, what we should do. So it's going to be a very interesting session next week. So let's meet up next week to do that, and then we can finish it off, and then we can move on to the last few sessions. Right? Any questions up to now? Any questions up to now? So if not, we will call it a day. And from the next week, we will move on to the other areas. Right. Thank you then.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And all those who have not sent me the number, please do send it to me. Right. I will share my mobile number again, so you can send it to me. Right. All those who have not sent me the number, please do send it to me. I've just shared my mobile number again, right?